How different would your business be if tomorrow you went viral? If tomorrow your business got an additional million views that you weren't expecting on your social media or to your website, how much of an impact would that have on your business? Well, in this video, we're gonna cover how to go viral, as well as go into deep detail about the 5 levels of fandom, or your guide to Shine. And no, Shine isn't just a cute little acronym. Each letter represents a different level of fandom that you need to win over to make your content go viral. Can you guess what each letter stands for? Ever since that original Dollar Shave Club ad went viral, that's all any marketer has talked about.
Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great.
That shook the internet, or at least the internet that digital marketers live in, and had everybody wondering, how do I get more views on my content? But before we deep dive into virality or how to go viral, let's set the stage and talk about a few other key topics as well here. All of these contribute to going viral. How do social media platforms work, and how do they decide to distribute your content enough to go viral? And the first key in going viral is to understand that the goal is to not go viral. The goal is to consistently put yourself in the best position to go viral. And you cannot do that without consistently publishing content. It's like expecting to win the lottery without ever buying a ticket, or just thinking that buying one ticket one time is gonna get the job done. Odds are heavily against you in that one. Now, we already have a video specifically talking about how important it is to consistently be publishing content. So if you haven't given that a watch, I'll put a link in the description below, and why don't you go ahead, watch that now. I'll be right here when you get back. Did that work? All right, anyway, onto this video. One of the first things I want to talk about is reframing what it means to go viral. And this is heavily involved in your strategy. If you got 1 million views on your content tomorrow, but say it wasn't the right target audience, would that make a difference then? If you did get all of that additional awareness, but it wasn't with the right people, what would be the value to your business? And that really deals with how niche or wide-ranging your product and services are. So depending upon where you sit in that spectrum, that may impact your strategy on how important going viral is. If you have a very niche business, then maybe 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 views is all you want, and that's okay. I think sometimes we get totally wrapped up in these huge Mr. Beast 10 million plus views videos that we think that anything less is a fail, when actually there's a lot other ways we should be tracking the performance of our video than just views. Think of every video as like an event that you're hosting. If 50 or 100 or 1,000 people show up, you'd be thrilled, as long as it's the right people, obviously. So don't be so hard on yourself, and when thinking about planning for some of your future videos, lay out achievable, measurable goals that will actually make a difference. So then again, depending upon how small or large your audience may be, let's think about the power of universal content. So what's some type of content that always gets great engagement on social media? Things that are funny. It spans ages, countries, languages. There's almost nobody who isn't gonna turn down a good laugh and a good smile, right? It's the same thing with dog content. Who doesn't wanna see a cute dog when they're scrolling through social media? I always stop. So thinking about the content that fits under your brand umbrella, you have to realize that the more specific each piece of content you create, the more you're cutting off a certain part of the population. If your content is about work, then you're already cutting off half the people in the world, or maybe even more. And a part of that is because some people work, some people don't, and even the ones that do work, they may not be interested in talking about work at that time. It's not just about the diversity of content that your brand creates, it's also the time when the user sees it. Maybe they've had enough work for the week and they just want to unplug, so the last thing they want to see is an ad or a post from your brand. And so even if you made the best possible post, they may just not want to hear it. Again, that's why consistency is so important. So for pitch decks and VCs, a very common term to use is total addressable market. And we should be thinking about that with our content. How wide is the audience we're targeting with each post? And in very broad strokes, we want all of our content to fall into 4 key buckets: educate, entertain, engage, and inspire. And so thinking about the total addressable market for each category and then each post within each category, we should readjust what our expectations are for the performance of those posts. All right, that is getting really into the weeds right there, and we are getting right back to virality. But if that content strategy piqued your interest and you want us to do a video on that, comment content strategy down below and we'll make one. All right, and the last thing we're gonna cover before we get into the 5 levels of fandom and understanding how to shine on social media, we have to talk about engagement, because engagement is the key that unlocks virality. Can you name all the types of engagement a user can have with your post? We've got likes, reactions, comments, saves and bookmarks, shares, both to their own pages and stories or in their DMs. Click through, that could be a link that's visible or directly to your profile. Duration, how long were they sitting and enjoying that piece of content? And one of my favorite, very similar to that, is gonna be video views. Video content is where it is at these days, and if you have a video that can get a watch time of 1.5 times, you are really onto something special. Think of each of these engagements as a little digital applause. Each one of them is signaling something different into the social media algorithm to help decide what they should do next with your content. Either keep showing it to that audience, show it to one slightly different, or stop showing it altogether, which obviously we do not want to happen. All right, with that foundation and understanding set, let's jump right into it. The 5 levels of fandom, or your guide to shine. Okay, number 1, S, your super fans. These are your die-hard supporters. They engage with 80% or more of your content and can't get enough of it. They're some of the first ones that always like, comment, and share your content, and winning them over is the key to unlock that next level. The more your super fans engage with a post, the more it's going to signal to the algorithm that they should move it on to the next level. Level number 2, habituals. They may not be as die-hard as your super fans, but it's kind of their routine or their habit to engage with your content. They should know who you are, but they don't really like every post that you put out, only the good stuff. And if you win them over, that's going to unlock that next level for you. Level 3, your insiders. Now they are super familiar with your industry, but may or may not know who your brand is. This is the start of going viral. It's where the algorithm starts testing your content with people who aren't as familiar with you to see how it resonates. If your post starts getting great engagement, it's going to continue to serve it out wider. But if it stops getting engagement, it's going to slowly get shut down. And this kind of goes back to your content strategy, right? How wide of a net do you want to cast? Can you reach a wider audience without losing that targeted audience? The more engagement you get with this tier, the more it's going to start saying to that algorithm, all right, let's push it a little bit further. If you can win over the industry insiders, you're on to level number 4. These are going to be your newcomers. If before this we had the industry insiders, now we have the newcomers to this industry. They know about that industry, but aren't that passionate or interested in it. It's on their radar, but if they go a day without hearing something from the industry, they're okay with it. And this tier should be harder to get engagement from because they aren't as familiar with that industry. It's only going to be real standout posts that do a good job of getting engagement at this tier. And when I think about this group, all I can think about is Russell Crowe from Gladiator. Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Again, that's where humor and dog videos come across, right? If it's super funny and it's businessy, it doesn't matter because if it's really, really funny, that's going to appeal to everyone. And the last one, number 5. But before we give that one away, just know we're going to talk through each of these in a real world example so you can better understand how these apply. And nah, I'm just kidding. Number 5, these are explorers. These are the wild cards, the randos, the people who don't really care about your industry all that much. These are the furthest people from your target audience, so who knows where they come from or what they're interested in, and if your post can actually resonate with them at all. Now, this is the hardest customer segment to overcome because these people don't really care about what you have to say. So if you really want to start winning them over, it has to have a very wide appeal. Again, that's where the targeting the ROI may not make sense for your brand and really comes down to your strategy. So let's talk this through in a real world example. And with football season kicking off, let's go for that one. And I know by using football as an example, I may be already losing some people here, but that's the tough part about content and content strategy. You got to draw the line somewhere. So let's go through this in much more detail. S, your super fans. These are your die-hard fans. They're either in the front row of your home game with their face painted, or they're at home screaming at their huge television. They love the team and they watch every single game and rearrange their schedule to make sure that they're never flying or traveling or have anything else going on when that game time rolls around. H, habituals. Now these people do love the game, but they may not love a particular team, or maybe they root for a few teams. Most of their Sundays are reserved for football, but they're probably switching between a few channels and are totally cool with catching the highlights later. And for I, insiders, these are people who know about and like the industry or like football, but aren't totally fans. They may be in a fantasy football league with some coworkers, but they are not rearranging every Sunday to make sure they're watching football. They'll watch it if it's on, likely carry on a few side conversations, and will probably be at your Super Bowl party, but not too much more than that. They like the social aspect of it more than they actually care about the game itself. And for newcomers, these are people who don't really care about football. They like sports and probably played something in high school, but they're only going to a game if they get a free ticket, and they're only watching the game if it happens to be on in the background, but probably not really actually watching it. They could go days or weeks without hearing anything about football related, but if they hear the crowd roar and everybody looks over at the TV, they'll certainly give that replay a watch. And E, explorers, these are people who maybe know who your home team is, but don't know any of the players on the team. They could not care less about sports or football, don't count them in for bringing anything to the Super Bowl party, and they would rather do anything than talk about sports with you. Again, they are a very hard audience to win over, but maybe if there's a once in a generation play, they'll give it some attention and love. So hopefully you're able to follow along and understand and connect a few dots here. Algorithm wants you staying on their platform as long as possible and coming back more often. And your time and your attention is the most valuable resource. So they're going to be very cautious about content they serve you to make sure they keep you on that platform as long as possible. They do not like to be risky when it comes to showing you content, because if if they show you something that you are not interested in, then you could just like close the app and leave, and now that is a total waste. They want people that are sticking around and looking for more. And a part of that is exposing users to new content, but that's going to be testing. They're testing the boundaries of your interests and your likes and your dislikes, so they know what kind of content to serve you next. So when thinking about your content, right, that fits into those 4 categories of educate, entertain, engage, inspire, think about the kind of content you want and how wide of a reach you want on that content, if that wider range makes sense for your business. So if you do want to go viral, think about making content that's going to appeal to all 5 of those levels. So that is all we have for today's video. But if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, the best way to say thank you is to share this with a friend, a colleague, or somebody you think who would enjoy it. Maybe somebody on your social media team. So if you don't want to miss any of our future videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that way you get notified when a new one comes out. Thanks for stopping by or for giving me some of your time. I do really appreciate it. You could be doing anything in the world right now, and you chose to set aside some time to grow your understanding about content strategy, and virality. So cheers to you. And with that, I will see you on the next video.